Dante's Discussion. Welcome back to another edition of Dante's Discussion Answers. That's right, where I am back. This time with a new logo. Hopefully I put it here in post-processing. New logo. Thanks to Calliope. Yes, your one and only Calliope. Thank you. She does some graphic design work. She went to school for it, and I really like it, actually. Although the controller is interesting, like no one's ever seen. Anyways, I appreciate her. She also helped me with the semi layout of the channel art as well, and hopefully slight improvements here and there, but you know, not much because I'm not paying her. Yes, get back to work. All right. Anyways, here we go. The question at hand, of course, for Dark Souls 3. Obviously, this is the answers portion of the video with your answers that you provided on Fetch Your Life and YouTube. Would attack cancellations benefit Dark Souls 3 PvP? Now, of course, I put this on Fetch Your Life and, of course, made the video. Another question for everybody. Would they benefit? And I said, in a sense, there is something sort of gratifying about not having them, about having it almost strictly timing. However, I could see it being a form for only ultra weapons. And we'll see what people said. A lot of people actually agreed with me. A lot of people said very similar sentiments. And then there were some people who said either no or yes without much explanation. But let's just go through it, shall we? Up on YouTube, Andrew Powell says, as soon as I saw the title of the video, I knew my answer. Yes. Hashtag make ultra weapons great again. Now that I've seen the video, I think you bring up some interesting points, especially with the blood ring. Personally, I've never really had a problem with people who use the ring, since you typically die in a few hits, but I can see how fighting those people can be annoying. I don't think attack cancellation would be a huge boon to them, though. Attack cancellations in Dark Souls 2 with at least how I played was only really useful to when you could roughly predict what your opponent might do. The same principle can work in reverse. If a guy without the ring predicts when his opponent may try to attack cancel, he can react accordingly. Wouldn't make the blood ring less annoying, but it would make it more annoying. So I'm still hashtag make ultra weapons great again. Yes, I really do. I don't appreciate or like what Donald Trump does. Let me not be political, but for some reason I do like that whatever make great again. Hashtag. Anyways, back to him. What he said. He said, all right, let me put it this way. You don't have a problem with the blood ring if you have a quicker weapon. I'm guessing. At least for me, if I've ever used a slower weapon with somebody who had the blood ring, I don't know how. I honestly don't know how to win there, especially if they're super roll spamming. I mean, your timing, you can only do so much. And that, if you have a big weapon, I don't know, it's extremely difficult to actually win those fights. If you have a small weapon, you can kind of spam a little bit and get in between those rolls. Either way, I just want to point that out. I don't know exactly what you meant by that, or what kind of weapons. If you're able to destroy them with big weapons, I want to see that, because it's tough for me, at least. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I think I said this in the other video too. You know, when you can predict someone, like what they're gonna do when they're gonna attack, why wouldn't you just parry at that point, right? I mean, maybe that's just me, but also in this game, because there's, you know, super hyper armor, why wouldn't you just attack at that point? Unless, of course, obviously they have an ultra weapon themselves. So I don't know. That was a little strange for me, but I definitely see why you want it back, and I agree. If they would bring it back, which they won't, because it sort of fundamentally changes the game, but it's like food for thought. Why not talk it out? Why not think it? But if they would, and if they did, I would say only for ultra weapons, because they're so slow anyway. I mean, come on. Great hammers. I don't see anybody use a great hammer, and I rarely see anybody use a great axe. Ultra great swords sometimes. At least they're used sometimes, but the latter, oh my god, I don't understand. All right, whatever. On to the next one. Next up, we have on Fetch Your Life, Bubba Lubba, personally, I would love for them to put attack canceling into the game, and I think it would benefit PvP. I think that every weapon should have at least one cancelable attack. It would give people another option to mess up their opponent's timing, which would be really helpful considering how easy and forgiving parrying and rolling is in this game. Attack canceling, in part, can help counter parry spammers and people who roll at the sign of any kind of movement. It would add some depth to the PvP and increase the skill gap at least a little bit. However, you should only be able to attack, or only be able to cancel an attack very early in the animation, especially with quick weapons. Heavy weapons are slower and take longer to get the momentum behind them, so you should be able to cancel attacks a little later in the animation as long as you don't have momentum moving forward. Basically, the length of time that you are still able to cancel an attack should depend on what the attack animation looks like. Once the weapon has momentum forward, you should have to follow through with the attack. So attacks with a long wind up would really benefit from having a small window to cancel the attack. This would make every weapon slightly more viable and will give heavy weapon users a better chance to catch a bad roll and land a hit. Given the speed of the game, this would be a good thing overall. And since most follow-up moves, such as the second R1 or second R2, are faster and already start with the forward momentum, only initial attacks, the first R1 or R2, should be cancelable. They can just look at how Dark Souls 2 did it, since the game did a pretty good job with attack canceling. Yeah, I mean, you know, I really like this. I definitely understand where this person's coming from, and I definitely understand. It's interesting because it's like, would you rather have a thing that adds to it or sort of a nerfing of something else? So let me put it in this aspect. I personally would rather have the nerfing of the distance and iframes of rolling rather than attack canceling. Because even if you get an attack cancel, if somebody rolls away, most of the time you're still not going to hit them because of how far you freaking roll. It's ridiculous. And nerfing of some smaller weapons, like you cart this, but I would only nerf the range, if anything. Just the phantom range on that thing is crazy, but it's also crazy on long swords as well, and a few other weapons. But, you know, what would be better in that instance? You know, just having a nerf roll that allows you to sort of do what you're saying, you know, catch somebody who does a bad roll. But then obviously there is the other aspect I think you were alluding to, is the fact that, you know, there are people who, they don't do anything until you do something. You know, the wait and see tribe, as you say. And attack canceling would severely help on those people. It would add another facet to the wait and see tribe. But then again, at the same time, there are people who are super wait and see, where they don't even get next to you. They are so far away that you can't even pretend to hit them. It's like if you swing, you're not even, they could just stand still and you wouldn't hit them. And those people, I don't even know what the hell you do with that. They shouldn't even play the game, because that's boring. I don't know how you have fun. Anyways, that's maybe a conversation for another day, or should I say discussion? I don't know. Either way, yeah, I mean, I do like that, the momentum aspect of it, where if you're moving forward with it, that's it. Almost like baseball. Once you break that plane, if you're past here, that's a pitch. You were throwing it. You're as far as you can, you know. Or I'm sorry, it's actually batting. I don't think that, it might be a balk. It might be a balk if you do pitching. I don't know my baseball that well, but I did meant hitting. Once you break the plane of I don't know, what is it, your 45-degree angle or whatever where you are. Once you break that plane and the ball went forward, that is a strike no matter what. So I definitely understand that momentum aspect. It makes sense. I can see it being good, but I still think rolling needs to have more stamina used. And there's a lot of things that need to be fixed, but rolling needs to have more stamina used. You don't roll as fast, you don't roll as far, and maybe lessen the iframes. Maybe. Iframes, I'm a little, I don't think you can probably mess with that if the other things happen, because then people can actually get hit if they roll away from an ultra weapon going down on somebody, which should be able to hit them. If they roll straight away is what I'm saying. You should be punished is what I'm saying. So I can see how this can work, but again, they roll too fast, too far, too easy. And yeah, I don't know. That's another discussion, you know. I come up with all these things when I play, and I'm like, it's like shields. Shields got to be nerfed. They're way too good, way too good. I mean, there's counters, but still, way too good. Anyway, on the next one. I spent way too long on that. Next up, we have on YouTube, Sation 1. It should definitely come back, especially for slow attacks and for spells too. I think it is for some spells. It always depends on the weapon and how much time you have to cancel an animation. If it's at the very end of the animation, it might be too easy and too powerful. Yeah, of course. It's sort of what the other guy said. Exactly. It just got to be in the beginning. It's got to be really quick. How Dark Souls 2 basically had it. I actually did Dark Souls 2 have spell cancel? They did at least have it on Pyromancies. I know that. I think they did. I haven't used spells as much in Dark Souls 2, so I can't really say much. But yeah, attack cancels, I think especially for spells, it should be. Because sometimes when you're locked in a spell, I mean, you're getting taken to the city. Let's be honest. Skunk Boy says, I wish they would do it for spears and ultra great weapons. Also why I say spears, as you know, spears are my favorite class, but I didn't know that. They are ass in Dark Souls 3. Attack canceling would give them more variety and back to the Dark Souls 2 days as powerful monsters with the mix-up. Bye. Spears do have a problem in this game, and there are some people who can utilize certain spears. I think the Gargoyle Spear is a favorite of people because it might have the range, but their charge-up attack is too slow. Just the regular attack, it's just like a wind up and go forward. I can definitely see attack canceling. I actually think to fix those, I think maybe have the tracking slightly better, and or allow the hitbox to be slightly, and I mean slightly wider. You go too far and then you're going Dark Souls 2 ridiculous with how good they were. Real Ogre says, no, you should pay for your bad decisions. That's an interesting take on it. I don't know if I necessarily agree. I mean, I definitely agree you should pay for your bad decisions. However, I mean, it's not a bad decision if you're trying to fake somebody out. So if it was in the game and you did that and you knew you wanted to cancel it, it's not, you know, you're being tricksy, as I would say. You're trying to be tricksy. You're trying to catch them because, especially with heavy weapons, it's so damn hard to just hit somebody dead on without doing some sort of trickery or trading. I mean, I don't know how rare it is that anybody just gets hit from a great weapon or ultra great weapon, just an attack without trading or doing something sort of tricky. Like, does anybody ever get hit like that just straight on? No, I mean, it can happen with a rapier, it can happen with a straight sword, stuff like that. Things that are quicker, maybe somebody couldn't react fast enough, but even then, it doesn't happen often, especially to decent players. So I don't know, but I do think people should pay for their bad decisions. However, I don't know if this is necessarily indicative of bad decisions if it were to be in the game, because it is sort of another option. Uncle Odie says, I love Trixie. She's great and powerful. I don't know how to answer. You keep pushing out questions. I always leave my answer hesitant. Some cancel effect might be interesting to change the way people play. I think some form would make sense, like with canceling a charge up power attack. Others may just prove more problematic than fun. With how many enemies in this game, spam attack single player would greatly benefit, though I would still prefer a proper poise mechanic. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants real poise, I think. There's probably some people out there like, oh, I love hyper armor. I can just swing forever. Like those damned halberd users who just swing in front of them forever. And you can't do much because generally, well, at least for me, if I use a straight sword, I don't do as much damage. I don't reach as far. And they have hyper armor. What am I supposed to do? It's tough. And then they get upset with me when I use a shield. It's like, I can't close the gap, damn it. And of course, parrying that is really difficult. At least for me, I'm not the master of parries, as you may know. I try to be the master of aggression. Either way, let's get back to the question at hand. Interesting thing here, I tried to say it before, but canceling a charge-up attack, sort of allowing it on a specific attack, I think would actually be bad. I think if they were going to do it, it would have to be on all attacks. And the reason for this is, oh, I know he's doing this attack. Well, that's the only attack that can cancel. Now I can see if they're going to cancel it, and then they can wait, back up a little, and then roll away, because it doesn't really matter if you cancel the attack then, because you're already away. So I think in that instance, if they were to do it, it had to be with every attack, because I think it'd be too easy to see what somebody is trying to do. But then maybe it could add more mind games. I don't know. You know, it's tough to really determine how something will affect or change or help or hurt the game. a lot of times. That's probably what they thought with this poise. It's working exactly the way they wanted it to work. I don't know, man. I don't know about that, though. Hoopae? Hoopai? Hoopae? I don't know. I don't know who that is. Anyways, they're on Extra Life, and they say only R2s, maybe. Yeah, again, with the same point, I think if they're going to do it, it would have to be with every type of attack. Well, except, I would say, yeah, except rolling attacks, right? Because that would be kind of, well, I don't know. I was kind of a dick with how rolling attack cancellations was in Dark Souls 2. I mean, I would, because you could do a fast roll that way, and I would just fast roll all the way to somebody because I was so aggressive. I was like, no, never stop. That was always fun, but I don't know. I got a lot of people that way. Anyways, the glory days of Dark Souls 2. They were fun. Anyways, we're on Dark Souls 3. JS Pumpkin King on the YouTube says attack cancel? Well, I guess sure, it might benefit the comment. It's just that the thing is, I don't know, it would benefit the game that much. Weapon attack speed is already fast enough in all class to the point that attack cancellation might not add that much depth and variety for the combat. If anything, I would like a way to make Ultra Swords, Great Axes, and Great Hammers swing faster. Oh, damn right, do please make Great Hammers faster. Goodness sake. I'm sorry, it's out of topic, but what do you expect? You're asking a question to a big weapon addict after all. I can't disagree with you here. They gotta make, I don't know, Ultra Great Swords. They still need help. Some of them need help. Great Axes need help. Great Hammers. Great Hammers are just abused in this. They're so tough to use. Really, the only way I know how to use them, and by the way, I'm not saying I'm even good with them, but is to trade. Is to do more damage with somebody, is to hyper armor through it. And I never like to play like that. Even in my videos, somebody said that, I've never seen anybody try to be so aggressive with the, I don't know what I was using, Ultra Greatsword or something, with whatever Ultra weapon or super heavy weapon. Because that's how I like to play. That's how I try to play with every weapon. I try to be aggressive. But it's extremely tough. I always try to press the action. Obviously, it depends on the weapons of the enemy. If it's a Karthus, I hate playing the Karthus because it's like they just win from anywhere on the map unless you're using specific weapons. I don't know. Enough about the damn Karthus. If I use a straight sword against a Karthus, my win percentage is it's bad. It's not good. I mean, if I use a halberd or something with a little bit of hyper armor, a little bit of range, it's much better. But I don't I like to try to get better with less optimal conditions. Anyways, that's not even the question. I just like talking about myself. Sorry. Yeah, I want big weapons to be better. Please make ultra weapons great again. Extra Life, TSMP, call it Faints instead, and everyone would want it on everything. Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know. It's tough. It really is tough to see if it would benefit the game. I think if it was in the beginning, it would be such a big difference now. It would alter the game so much now that I definitely don't think they'll do it. But even if they were thinking about it, I don't know. It would be and I've never really played WoW, but I know Cataclysm for WoW. That was such a huge deal. It just changed everything. It wouldn't be that big, but it would be pretty huge. And I think one thing it might do is it might actually let the cream rise to the top, if you will. It might allow, you can sort of almost tell players, if players don't attack cancel ever, you're like, oh, they're kind of new, or maybe they're not as good, or they don't play as much. It's interesting because in Dark Souls 2, you can sort of tell players like that, right? So the one thing you can definitely tell is a backstep parry. Dark Souls 2, if you can backstep parry somebody, they were new. If you saw somebody try to parry an ultra great, they were new. There's certain signs, and even in Dark Souls 3, there's still certain signs where you're like, what the hell is this guy doing? Someone who just roll, and what's sad is some of these actually work, but someone who just use the Goddards and they just roll attack, that's it. And then they can win because you miss the timing. That's half your life because those damn things are powerful. It's one of those things, you can just sort of tell the players who maybe aren't that great. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. I'm off topic 10 times here. Oh, God. YouTube's Deathlike Mage 04 says, I'd say yes, but only for big weapons. Hashtag no roll punches. With someone who only used roll punching or someone who was extremely good with it. It was horrible to deal with. Yeah, roll punching in this game, and it's tough. You know, it's a strange balance. You want fist weapons, you want claw weapons, you want stuff like that. But you have to make the range of the weapons kind of ridiculous, because if you didn't, you would never hit anybody, right? So roll punches, the quickness, and like you have to have something, and it needs to be unfair with its distance, because it's already nerfed by way of how it works anyway, right? You have to be so close to someone to get any type of hit. I think what he's talking about, just roll punches with it in general. Although running punches as well are extremely effective, because they can hit you from very far away. That's why a shield is kind of like the end-all be-all to a lot of these weapons, which is sad. They should nerf shields. Even though I'm a shield user, they should freaking nerf it, because it's ridiculous. Nathorn says, I definitely want animation canceled to be in this game. No reason not to have, but only in charge attacks being the R2 button, not spells, weapon arts, or R1s. Just the charge attacks. They should cost more stamina to cancel, though. I definitely agree on costing more stamina to cancel. And in fact, I think most things should cost more stamina in this game, other than ultra great weapon attacks. I think those actually, they should it should be less, because they're so hard to use anyway. It might sound kind of dumb, but I don't think it should be less than other weapons like lower classes or whatever. But I think it should be less, because sometimes those weapon arts or your attacks leave you with no stamina, which is ridiculous for how not powerful those weapon arts are, which is crazy. Some of those weapon arts, you look at it, you're like, oh man, I hit him 7 times and my weapon was buffed, and then you did like 400 damage. You're like, are you kidding me? All my stamina's gone. They just hit me twice with the Karthus, and then I tried to roll and they hit me again, and now half my life is gone. Like, I've seen that a lot. It's happened to me a lot. Like, come on, what the hell is going on here? There's a lot of things. And again, I'm off topic, but this game, beep. Dodge 52 says yes, but I think it should only be available for strong attacks. A lot of people strongly agree with the just strong attack approach. And again, I think allowing it to only be on a certain attack might mess it up, but I don't know. You know, it is interesting. It's interesting to think. And even if you look at like a sports game, right, like a basketball game, if you jump up in the air and you're ready to shoot, you can still pass it, you know. So I can see like the logic behind bringing it back, because if you're winding up, you can stop. You're not a spring, you know. It's not like and then you have to go. No, that's not how it works. It's not pop goes the weasel, you're done. None of that. So I can definitely see it. It's tough, man. It's tough. You know, where would it fit exactly? Maybe it is in the R2s. Maybe it's all attacks. I don't know. Last but not least, we have a doozy from Facts for Life, Salt Lake Atrocity. That's right. Salt Lake Atrocity says, and here we go, get ready for this one. I agree that I don't see something so fundamental ever being added to the game this far in. I agree. I can also see both pros and cons to adding it in, so much so that I don't think I'll really have a definitive yes or no to offer. Well, it is a yes, but they'd benefit the game, but not necessarily that the cost wouldn't outweigh the benefits. First, any variety is better. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but when that extra variety trumps the status quo, it is no longer variety, just a new status quo. With the speed of the game and response times of attacks and movements in general, there would have to be a risk or cost associated with attack cancellation, or else it would become the new norm. Off the top of my head, something along the lines of reduced or nulled iframes for any roll, canceling out another animation. Without that risk, I could see it becoming abused. I can picture players just repeatedly running up for a pseudo attack and then canceling away dozens of times in a row, or katana pokers being more spammy with their craft if they could just cancel out every time they see the parry coming, to the point of mild to noteworthy annoyance. Even something such as meaningfully increased stamina consumption for the canceling animation could even this out, though, at least in theory. On the other side, I can also see them making ultra weapons viable again, which would be a very welcome as one of the biggest issues is a lack of tools, moves, tactics to work with when compared to fast weapons. Of course, that means that if ultra weapons are allowed to cancel and other weapons are not, we're left trusting FromSoft to ensure that each weapon feels fair in their cancellation frames. It's fine if learning the difference in timing between weapons was just something you had to get good at, but knowing from there will be a laundry list of canceled after the Art 1 weapon. I'm sorry. I had to go there. Laundry list of weapons with absurd timings. Imagine if, for one example, if the twin Princess Greatsword was able to cancel after the R1 weapon fired at the opponent, if done swiftly enough, or if the Great Club could two-hit true combo and then cancel out fast enough during the third hit to immediately deal a rolling attack mid-stagger. If you're going to make the timing something unique to each weapon, which you kind of have to when you make the technique unique to specific weapon classes, then you have to take extra special care to make sure the timing themselves are balanced in some way. Now, obviously, this is a mouthful, and I appreciate everything you said. Very clear and concise, and everything seems to make sense in what you're saying. However, there are certain things, I don't know, it's, you agree and disagree in a sense, and I understand. I think a lot of people actually do. They kind of, oh, I can see how it can work, but I can also see blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I definitely understand on the cons way where you don't want the attack cancellation to allow someone to be almost hyper speed with an ultra weapon, because if they were hyper speed, you can attack cancel, and like, how would that balance with hyper armor itself? Could you attack cancel and still stay in that hyper armor animation? Like, how could that work, you know, if you're trying to trade with somebody? But I think there's easy fixes around that. Either don't allow the hyper armor to be as prevalent early on or later in the attack, and or allow stamina consumption to be much more if you do an attack cancellation, or as much as if you did a full swing. I actually forgot how much it was. It was just like a roll, right? Or I forgot how much it was in Dark Souls 2. It wasn't as much as just a regular swing and a roll, was it? I could be mistaken. I can't remember. Either way, stamina consumption, it's kind of a huge deal with this, obviously. You kind of want to not allow something to be OP, right? And in the ultra great weapons instance, would it allow them to be OP? I don't think so. I think it would just allow them more tools. However, if you add it to everything, definitely see it happening with katanas, roll attack. See, the one thing I can definitely see happening, which would catch a lot of people already with the katanas, is you two-hand run attack, you cancel, you do the L2, R1, or is it the R2? I forgot which one attacks, R1 or R2. Whatever one attacks, and you can roll catch them like every time, because that has a very wide range. Of course, unless you keep doing it, and then they're going to get wise to it. But again, that would be fixed by just not allowing it on either running attacks or just those lower weapons. Of course, balancing it for every weapon, I don't think really makes sense. Maybe every weapon class. It's tough, it's tough. Some weapons are just faster than others, some are slower than others. I think even in weapon classes themselves, they might be. I'm not sure. One thing I would like it to be on is definitely in the twin weapons, the Drang twin, whatever it is. When you do that L1 and you sort of get that one swing and then you're going for the next one, sometimes that can screw you up because you're stuck in that animation. And I think being able to roll out of that would be beneficial for those weapons, which are, in my opinion, very hard to use anyway. So I definitely see where attack cancellations can be utilized in the game. Would it allow for more mental and mind games? It might, but it might be different. Now, that's the interesting thing. That's sort of the opposite end of what I considered in my earlier video of what I thought that it might take away the mentality of the game and sort of allow, and it's strange to say this, but allow for more skilled players to utilize and become better. Let's say you're a player like me who isn't flashy. I don't use like all these, you know, tricksy, flipsy, what do the people call it? Ravioli. I don't know who the hell made that up. It's dumb. It's not that makes no sense. Whatever. Anyways, whatever backstep flip thing, I've seen very few people do it anyway, and even more few people utilize it any effective at all. In fact, it's against me because I'm aggressive. They just got hit. that's basically it. But sort of allowing for more skill play in a sense, almost like somebody with a mouse that can click 40 times versus somebody else 30 times a minute or something. I don't know. People are probably higher than that, like 80 or something. But would that take away from the mentality of the game? Would that take away from, you know, some of the old dogs, if you will, who try to play the player rather than play the skill? And again, the mentality isn't like skillless or anything. It's sort of a thought, sort of like a chess match in a sense. I don't know. You know, that's the thing that I just pose these questions. I ask you to answer them. You put them here, and we think about it. See, maybe what people agree. So far, most people agree. In fact, was there a no? I don't think there was a definitive no. There might have been one. But most of them were either, again, and this is with a lot of these questions I've noticed, yes, but with a stipulation. Yes, but you do this. Not just simply, yes, there you go, done. Yes, add it in there, we're done. So I appreciate you, Salt Lake Atrocity. Everybody else who was in this, who answered. I hope this was another great one. And hopefully many more. Although I will be honest, where the hell's the DLC, man? Like I don't want to post some of these questions because I'll have to redo questions for the DLC, you know, like, oh, best weapon, best boss, blah blah blah, stuff like that. Then the DLC comes out and then I have to do it all over again. Come on. Whereas I don't want the Redux. I feel like that's a cheap way of getting more videos pumped out, but a lot of people probably do that anyway. Either way, like, comment, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me what you think and I will be back.